Welcome to Dirk Island. I want to talk briefly about this really interesting Nat Geo documentary short that just came out. Almost as just a recommendation, because I think that it's all about wildlife tourism. It's about this by this woman, Natasha Daly, and another photographer. They did this story, and it's pretty quick, bite-sized, but it's about essentially focuses in on Thailand elephant experiences. So a lot of people see that people go to Thailand and go to these elephant experiences, and just to be clear, I actually haven't done this yet, but I have seen a lot of people do this and think it's really awesome looking. So like, I have wanted to go to Thailand and do this, but I think what's really interesting about watching this is that it gives you a lot of pretty practical advice about like what a do and don't is as far as a elephant experience in Thailand. So that's why I'd recommend it. We'll link to it, or I'll link to it below this video so that people can go watch it. But basically, you see two different types of elephant experiences. One that's like a circus, which is obviously like if you care about an elephant, don't. But others that would potentially trick you if you didn't know. So things where you just can get very close to the elephants, where lots of people can go to a pool, the elephant's like putting water on itself, and you could go pet it on all edges and whatever, and all these people could be around an elephant. The real moral of that is that for an elephant to be that comfortable with people, they in Thailand basically train these elephants the same way they would train a circus style elephant, or an elephant that's there to do a show where it's painting or whatever. And that kind of training, as they kind of investigate, is like fear-based training, a lot of use of bull hooks. One of the things too that she really focuses on is kind of just like tying them up to a chain even with spikes at nighttime, where they can't even get a good rest. Like just this weird thing where they're in cages at night, and then the thing that happens too is a lot of deception. Like, oh yeah, but this is just because she was being bad right now. And then she comes back and follows up with this elephant for many days and realizes that the people are just totally lying. They're just lying to her about the conditions for the elephants and whatever. And you could tell if you're a tourist, you would totally be had by that. You'd go, you'd have a close encounter with an elephant. You'd be like, oh my God, I'm caring for it. This is so great. Get the selfie. And also the real focus on the selfie has, I guess, like increased the popularity of the elephant tourism by like 300% in recent years. So that was a really interesting fact. But yeah, that, is basically the deception of the, this is, whether they tell you it's a sanctuary or not. If you can get so close to the elephant, this kind of tells you that it's very likely that this is not the type of ethical experience, at least from how the elephant was groomed to be that, or raised or whatever, to be that way, and how the type of training that's required to get the elephant that way, versus what they show you is an actually acceptable elephant and an ethical elephant experience, which is one where basically the elephants get to roam free, and you can go and you can like feed them stalks of food, and they'll come up to the edge of a fence, like a pretty see-through fence, and you're just kind of like with like a few wood planks, so you can be right next to the elephants and feeding them, but they're behind a barrier. There's no chains. They live in an area. They can come up. So it's basically just, you could pretty clearly tell if you were investigating what place you were going to for elephants, whether or not you're going to a place that's like actually not abusing the elephants, or whether or not the experience is almost too good. They show basically a guy who's like gets the elephant to pick him up with the trunk, and you're like, that's not an elephant that's like had a good life to get to that point. So anyway, I liked it for that reason.
I really like the practicality about it, how it did show you, here's what's bad, here's what the various levels of it look like, and here's what the actually more ethical alternative does look like. And it seems like the amount of interaction decreases the more you're not really interacting, the closer it is to the ethical standard. And I think it's really important. It's easy to get swindled. You go to Thailand and you're like, I want to see an elephant. That sounds sweet. Remember when we went to China, you had luckily, I think the takeaway is like, if you're going to do this and interact with animals in some different country, like just research it for 2 seconds. Because likely if you don't, you get swindled into something where it seems cool as the tourist, like, I get to swim with dolphins or whatever. And you're not realizing the suffering that you're helping support. Perfect example were those cormorants. When we were in rural China, there's this really cool seeming, and they sell it as like it's an ancient tradition. It's been around for hundreds or maybe more years, where these village villagers are on rafts and they fish with cormorant, a type of bird with a really long neck that they've trained the birds to go and catch fish for them, and they pop up with a fish in their mouth, and then you take the fish and then feed it some chum instead and take the good fish. And it's like, wow, that is so cool what the bird's doing. Little do you know, like, basically they tie something around, correct me if I'm wrong, something around its throat.
They tie a little noose around the neck so that the neck can't expand to actually fit the fish down. So they do this incredible thing, go into the water, get the fish down the throat, and then the fish is just stuck in the throat, so that the person, once they get back on the boat, they can force the cormorant bird to regurgitate the fish so that they can feed them some little chum and stuff. And this has been going on for a long time. It's very much like a way of being, but yeah, it's pretty cool. And I think, too, just to be clear, like, we're not saying the problem is that you could do research and they could tell you it's no big deal, or they could tell you it's been going on for 100 years. And the real thing that's nice about this is I like that a legitimate source, National Geographic, one that you can trust on animals. I don't know of a time when you can't trust them. It's possible they're wrong on something, but I think a legitimate source put out a very short and digestible piece. There's actually a written story that goes along with it that goes into more detail, but this one is very practical for people who do want to go have that animal experience, especially the elephant experience in Thailand, and just a little bit more of like, yeah, do your research, but try to find a legit source like this. And I think it's really nice that National Geographic went out, made that legit source, made it pretty clear, and that's why I think people should go watch it if they have any interest in this kind of thing.
Yeah, and also elephants are smart as fuck. Like, they don't deserve to be tortured. Like, all animals should be treated well, but like, elephants are fucking smart. Like, it's a travesty that they would use that intelligence to just like bullhook them and train them.
Why people want to go see them.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, we'll link to it below. Thanks very much for watching. Just wanted to give a shout out to a very good documentary short that I saw this week.
Thank you.
Bye.